Welcome to the Frugalpreneur podcast. I am your host, Sarah St. John, and my guest today is the founder and host of the award-winning podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire, which has over 3,000 episodes and over 1 million monthly listeners. Welcome to the show, John Lee Dumas.
Sarah, I am here. I am ready to be frugal. Life is good.
We met in person at Podcast Movement, and I went to your talk,
Thank
and
you.
one of the things that you talked about that I really want to kind of get into is when someone is launching a podcast nowadays versus like when you did back in 2013 or 2012,
12. Yeah.
okay. You recommend not doing interview style podcasts. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. Well, number one, are you wearing an Entrepreneurs on Fire shirt right now?
Oh, yes, I meant to say
Ah,
that.
so nice. I can see the top part of it. I'm like, that looks like such a great shirt. So number one, thank you for wearing that swag. That means a lot. Number two, thank you for coming to my session. That really means a lot as well. It was cool meeting you in person. And number three, listen. I think an interview podcast is a great thing even today when you again are going back to one of the main things I was sharing during that talk. You are providing the number one solution to a real problem in this world. So, for instance, with this show right here, if you are identifying within the space of being frugal and being good with your money and cost saving tips, all these things, if you're identifying a real problem within that niche that is not being solved in the interview space, then this is a great show for that. What my main thing is, the show doesn't need another podcast interviewing entrepreneurs about their successes and their failures because there's a million of those shows. What this world needs and what the podcasting world needs are more shows that are identifying a real problem and becoming the number one solution to those problems. And it's so much easier to do that on a topic level basis because now you're in control of the content as a host. You can identify a real problem in this world and deliver the real solutions in a manner that you want because you have control. You don't really have control, by the way, about what I'm going to say today. I could say being frugal is stupid. It's the worst idea. I've interviewed 3,700 people and that's just dumb, dumb, dumb. Of course, I'm not going to say that because it's not, but I could, and I could mean it. And that would be an interesting interview and it would kind of blow up some of your content. So it's like, I love when the host is in control and with a topic-based show, it's all you.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've been actually thinking about I need to have more solo episodes
Yeah.
where I can kind of shine and people get to know, like, and trust me more so than the guest.
And how many episodes are you releasing right now?
I currently have almost 160,
And how many is that like per week, per month?
just one a week.
Yeah. See, you need, as I mentioned in the session, I want you at 3 per week. I want you at 1 interview per week, but then I want you at least 2 short form, but really high impact and high value Wednesday and Friday shows. I want to see that happen.
Okay, I will work on that. I was actually kind of thinking 2 a week, maybe an interview style show one day and then a where I recommend like a tool or software that I use to recommend that's free or affordable another day. But 3, yeah, I could try that.
Hey, listen,
Awesome.
after this interview, sit down, write the top 25 problems that people have around frugality. That's 25 episodes right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will do that. I didn't expect to get a homework assignment on this, but I love it. Okay, next question, kind of along those lines, though. I know you've had a lot of big guests, and of course, a lot of this kind of goes back to 2012 and that podcasting wasn't as big and whatever as it is now. But you were able to get like Barbara Corcoran, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, all these people. Now, if someone wants to do that now, how would you go? Well, first of all, I guess how was your approach back then 10 years ago, and how would that differ now?
Yeah. So number one, there just wasn't that many shows back in 2012. So they weren't getting bombarded by all these people. And it was just like, oh, it's kind of a new thing. It was like, oh, like what's this thing called TikTok? Let me check it out. But back in 2012, it's like, what's this new thing called podcasting? Like, let me check it out. I remember Barbara was literally in her makeup chair at Shark Tank
Mm.
doing the interview. Like, she was just like, her assistant was holding the microphone up to her mouth. and she was just chatting away, and it was a blast, and it was cool, and so it wasn't like taking up any of her extra time, so to speak. And it was just kind of a novel thing. And so, now if you really want to get the big guests, you better be bringing something new and special and unique in your podcast that's really going to have them say, you know what? This show is going to have me talk about something different. And that is cool because now I can share that with my audience because my audience has heard me say the same spiel over and over again about X, Y, and Z, the same questions that I always get asked. But if it's a new, unique topic, that's interesting.
Yeah, and with Barbara Corcoran in particular, I don't know if you've read her book Shark Tales, but it's about how she started her business with like $1,000 and now it's worth in the billions. And so I really want to talk about that. So I think that's my angle. But of course, getting through gatekeepers, that's a whole other story.
It's a whole other story.
So I know you've recently joined HubSpot Network, and I'd love to hear about that. Would you I mean, of course, you probably do recommend it because you did it, but who would you recommend that for? What are the benefits, the pros and cons of that?
So I've been part of the HubSpot podcast network for actually 15 months now, which is pretty crazy and pretty cool. And it's been a lovely experience. They're just really supportive of their creators, of their podcasters. And I would highly recommend it. Like, I love it because I get to promote other shows on my podcasts, but paying me for sponsorship spots. They're using those spots to have me promote other podcasts, and they're having the other shows promote Entrepreneurs on Fire. So it's like this great kind of community commingling effect. If I were like a podcast looking at a network, one of the reasons why HubSpot's really cool is they actually just launched this creator program where like every quarter or so often, maybe it's every 6 months, they have like this application process for newer podcasts. And HubSpot actually will give you money to grow your podcast. Like, they'll actually send you money to help pay for promotions and hosting costs and equipment costs and all that stuff. It's under the whole HubSpot Podcast Network banner. So they're really going big in the podcasting space. They're doing a lot of cool things, and it's been really cool seeing them grow.
Awesome. Yeah. What do you see as the future of podcasting? I don't know if like Web3 and NFTs and all this stuff is going to play a factor, or if you feel like it's still going to be an open platform versus what are your thoughts there?
So podcasting's always held like a small space in people's day. It's never been what people do all day long. Like, some people sit around and play video games all day, or they sit around and they watch videos all day long or stuff like that. Podcasting has always been okay, when I'm driving to work, those 20 minutes, or when I'm walking my dog in the morning, those 45 minutes, or when I'm doing the dishes or folding laundry at night. It's always been like when they're doing some activity where they can consume content, but at the same time being able to be doing other things. And so podcasting is always going to kind of hold that space for people who want to consume content while doing other things. So that's just not going to change. So there's going to be a lot of things that come up in this world. They're going to drag your attention. Virtual reality, Web3, metaverse, all these different things. But podcasting is always going to be there for the people that want to consume content while they're doing something else. And when they can't be visually watching something, or they can't be typing something, those are the times that people are going to listen to podcasts. And it's going to have, again, just that little piece of people's day. Like, I don't have any illusions that podcasting's ever going to be anything more than it is. It's a way to consume content that you want to consume when you want to consume it for free.
And do you have any tips on the frugal side of things, whether someone's starting a business in general or a podcast?
So when it comes to being frugal, I'm a huge fan because, listen, people don't run out of ideas. People don't run out of passion or desire very often. What people run out of is money. They run out of money. When you run out of money, that's it, because you've got to pay the bills. You've got to put food on the table, shelter over your head. And so people run out of money. So if you can extend your runway as long as possible by being as frugal as possible, you're giving yourself a chance to have that big break, because you don't know when the big break's going to come. For me, it was at month 13. For you, it might be at month 26. For somebody else, it might be at month 4. You don't know when the big break's coming, but if you're around long enough, it will come. And being frugal gives you a longer runway to get lucky, to have that big break.
And I'd be curious, I know this is a question that sometimes you ask on your show about what is something that people may not know about you. I just learned today that you were on The Price is Right. You won a car. I watched that video.
Wasn't that a funny video?
Yeah, that was. So aside from that, what is something that people don't know about you?
I backpacked India for 4 months when I was 27 years old,
Mm.
and I was dragged off the street willingly, to be an extra in a Bollywood movie.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip too. That was funny. Okay, well that explains how that happened because I was kind of wondering how did that even happen.
Mhm.
I'll actually put links to those YouTube videos of you winning the car in the Bollywood.
Goal.
I'll also include links to your book, which I kind of wanted to get into, but maybe another time. The Common Path to Uncommon Success. And I'll put a link as well to your podcast, Entrepreneur on Fire. What do you see the future for you? What's next?
You know, what's next is just more of the same. I've just kind of found a groove right now. I'm just rolling along, doing a daily podcast, jumping on other shows like yours, 10 times per month, and just having fun down here in Puerto Rico.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time today. People can go to eofire.com to check out your podcast. I'll also have show notes with links to everything we discussed at thesarahstjohn.com/JLD.
Thank you so much. Take care.